this video, we will be talking about scarcity and opportunity cost. What does it mean if something is scarce? Normally, we might see a photo like this or walk into a store where we see empty shelves and think, food is really scarce. Food is very limited. We have some choices, there's some food on the shelves, but a lot of the shelves are empty, so we might just have to buy whatever is left. And while yes, in this scenario, food is scarce, when we look at the economic definition of scarcity, it really applies to everything. Everything is scarce because everything is limited. Even if these shelves were completely packed full of food, we would still say that food is scarce because food is a limited resource. Later, in another video, we'll discuss shortages and surpluses. So here we would say there's a shortage. There's a shortage of food because at a particular price level, people are purchasing a lot, right? There's a higher quantity demanded or a higher quantity that people would like to buy than is potentially available at that price level. So shortage and scarcity are not the same thing. So scarce just means that everything is limited. Economics is really the study of people's choices in a world of scarcity. So we're going to say that scarcity means we have limited resources with unlimited wants. Everything is scarce because everything is limited. Whether it's a natural resource, whether it's food, time, money, love, everything is scarce because everything is limited. In economics, we talk about people's wants rather than needs because needs are a little bit trickier to define. For instance, we need food, we need water, we need air to breathe, we need somewhere to live. But how do you define what counts as a need? What one person might say is an absolute need, another person might say is a luxury, or maybe below living standards, right? So we just say that everything is a want. So in economics, we have limited resources and we have unlimited wants. And because of scarcity, because we have to make choices, we can't have everything we want. If we had unlimited time, we had unlimited money, we could just have everything. We wouldn't have to make choices. For instance, you are choosing right now to watch this video, to take college classes, rather than doing something else. And it's not because there's nothing else you could be doing right now. You could be sleeping, you could be hanging out with your friends, you could be working. There's many other things you could be doing right now, but you have limited resources. You're trying to maximize some level of happiness or benefits in your life, and you had to make certain choices to do that. So throughout this course, we're going to use economics as a way of studying choices, how people make certain choices. Should we choose one thing? Should we choose another? We'll be looking in macroeconomics, we'll be talking about the economy as a whole. So we'll be looking at government choices, how they decide to tax or programs to provide services to the economy. In microeconomics, we look at individual choices, so how households maximize their happiness or how companies maximize their profit. But regardless of what type of economics you're studying scarcity. You're studying the choices that people made because of limited resources, limited time, limited money. So we'll be looking at questions like, is Facebook actually free? What are the implicit and explicit costs of using Facebook or other free services? Or we'll be talking about opportunity costs. So if Bill Gates sees a $100 bill on the sidewalk, is it going to be worth his time to stop and pick it up? We'll be talking about things like, what is the optimal level of crime? Do we want zero crime? Yes, right? We would love to have zero crime, but we have trade-offs, right? We have limited resources. If we spend all of our money and all of our efforts trying to eliminate crime, we're going to be giving up other things that are valuable, such as education or health services or other things, because we have limited resources as a society. If Bill Gates sees a $100 bill on the sidewalk, do you think it's worth it for him to pick it up? Maybe, maybe not. Okay, so we're going to talk about opportunity costs in the next section. We'll address this a little bit. And then we'll also talk about free. So how do we determine if something is free or not? Opportunity cost is an important concept in economics. So opportunity cost goes beyond just what you're paying for an activity. So if I want to go buy some pizza from Little Caesars, it might cost me $5 or $6. But there are other costs as well, not just the dollar amount that I had to purchase. So opportunity cost is the value of what must be foregone to undertake an activity. So not just the dollar value that I paid for my pizza, but the time that I had to spend going and getting the pizza, and the value of the other thing I could have used my $6 for. Opportunity cost of an activity is going to be the next best alternative. It's not going to be all possible choices. So if I say, what is my opportunity cost of getting Little Caesars pizza for dinner tonight? It's not that I could have had tacos, or I could have made spaghetti, I could have had a sandwich, I could have had a bowl of cereal, I could have had nothing. The opportunity cost is not all of those possible actions. It would be the next thing on my list. So let's say I all of a sudden get a text message saying Little Caesars is closed, there's no more pizza. So my opportunity cost would be whatever that next thing I would do would be. Okay, no Little Caesars, I'm just gonna have a bowl of cereal tonight. Okay, so we're gonna do a little exercise to think about opportunity cost. So let's say you need to buy a book for school, and it is $25 at the bookstore. But you could take a 10-minute walk to a store in downtown and save $10 on this book. So 10-minute walk. You could get a book. You could get the book for $15 instead of $25 at the school bookstore. So think right now. Would you walk 10 minutes downtown to save $10 on this book? Next question. You're going to be buying a computer, $2,500 computer. You can buy it at the bookstore for $2,500, or you can walk to that same other store downtown and save $10. So 10-minute walk downtown to save $10 on the $2,500 computer. Okay, now look at your answers. Did you do the same thing for both? Maybe some of you did the same thing for both, and some of you switched. So a lot of people probably said yes to the first one, and some people switched and said no to the second one. Some of you said yes to both. Some of you said no to both. But some people did switch. They went yes from the first one and no to the second one. So why do we switch? Why would someone switch from yes to no? Well, it's because of how you're thinking about this cost. You were thinking of this savings in relationship to the price of the item. And in this case, you would say, oh yes, 40% savings. I would love to do that, right? At a $25 book, I'm saving 40%. If I can do that on everything I purchase, it's really going to be a big win for me. I'm going to end up having a lot of extra money. Saving $10 on this computer is going to be, like 0.04%, right? Much lower percentage. Maybe it's not worth it. It's only $10. This is a really big purchase. I don't know that I want to walk downtown to do that. The problem is you're looking at the explicit cost and you're ignoring the opportunity cost. Since you're going to purchase both of these items anyway, this $10 discount is not affecting whether or not you're going to purchase. Okay? So you're going to buy it anyway. So we actually don't want to consider the explicit cost, right? The dollar value that you're spending on the item. What we want to look at is this implicit cost. This 10 minutes that you have to give up to undertake the activity. And so it's not about whether or not it's worth it to save $10 on a $25 purchase or $2,500 purchase. It's really about what is your opportunity cost of going downtown to buy the book. And in both of these cases, your opportunity cost is going to be 10 minutes. So your opportunity cost was 10 minutes going to buy the computer. It was 10 minutes going to buy the book. And so we really want to use this 10 minutes to determine the value of our time and if it's worth it, whether or not we would walk downtown to save $10. So what is the value of 10 minutes? Is the value of 10 minutes always the same? No, it's not. So 10 minutes on the first day of class, when you have an hour break in the middle of the day, you don't have any homework due yet, maybe 10 minutes is not worth it doesn't have a high value to you. Sure, you're going to walk 10 minutes to buy the book. You'll walk 10 minutes to buy the computer. But what if it is the day of a really big test and 40% of your grade is on this book and you haven't bought the book yet, you haven't read the book yet, and your test starts in half an hour? Are you going to waste 10 minutes of your time walking to save $10 on the book? Probably not, right? You are more likely to spend that extra 10 minutes studying. You'll pay full price for the book. So the value of your time changes depending on what else you could be doing with that time. Okay, so if we are deciding yes or no if we should walk downtown, it really depends on what else could you be doing with those 10 minutes. And our goal is to maximize our economic surplus. As an individual consumer, that would be like your profit, right? This extra benefit. You're trying to get the most value out of your time. And we're going to look at how to calculate economic surplus, both from the consumer side and the producer side in a later video. But it's the difference between the benefit of an activity and the cost of that activity. So in this case, the benefit of walking downtown is that you're going to save $10. The cost of that activity is however much you value 10 minutes of your time. Now, if we're talking about Bill Gates, is it worth it for him to stop and pick up a $100 bill that he sees on the sidewalk? Maybe yes, maybe no. We have to think about the value of his time. At one point, when I looked up how much money he made, it was close to $25,000 per minute. $25,000 per minute, it might not be worth it to stop and pick up a $100 bill. The opportunity cost of my time is really high. What if I stop and I pick up that $100 bill and I break my arm and now I have to waste several hours at the hospital and maybe I miss an important meeting? So if I am making as much money as Bill Gates, I might not stop and pick up a $100 bill. However, me personally now, I definitely would stop to pick up a $100 bill. It is absolutely worth the value of my time. So we want to think about the benefit. So we have an explicit benefit of $10. We have an implicit cost of 10 minutes. And how each of you value that 10 minutes will be different. So implicit costs is some value foregone that you didn't pay in dollars. So the value of your time is not something you have to pay for, right? So if you are at home right now and you pause this video and you go and watch a movie on Netflix, the implicit cost was the 2 hours you gave up to watch that movie. Like the value of what else you could be doing with that time. It might not have cost you an actual dollar value to watch a movie on Netflix. You already have a subscription, you're borrowing someone else's password, but you didn't have to pay actual dollars to then watch a movie right now. But you did have to pay something. You have a time cost. Something else you could be doing with that time. Explicit cost is what we normally think of as costs. Some sort of dollar value of an activity. So let's look at an example. What are the explicit and implicit costs of going to college full-time? So we'll make some assumptions here. If you're a full-time college student, you're taking 4 to 6 classes, some of which are in person and during the day, and they may interrupt normal full-time job. So you may have a different part-time job or a different type of job than you may normally have. If you're taking all of your classes online, maybe it doesn't interrupt your full-time job, but you do have to give up something else, leisure time or something else, to be in school. So the explicit costs are things we normally think of, things that you have to pay for. If you want to go to college, you'd say, okay, what is the tuition cost? What are the fees? How much are books going to cost me? Those of you who are thinking of going to a four-year university, getting a bachelor's degree or getting a master's degree, you look at different schools and think, what is this going to cost me? How much money am I going to have to borrow? How much do I have to pay for tuition? And there are also implicit costs. So the income that you are not earning while you're in school. Generally, if you're going to classes full-time, you have to take a different type of job than if you weren't in school at all. Maybe if you quit school right now, you could get a full-time office job that, 8 to 5, right? Normal business hours. When you're in school full-time, you may have to take a part-time job, find a company that's willing to be flexible with your hours, and so you're giving up some income by being in school. Or it could be the value of other activities that you could be doing while you're studying. So maybe you have, finals next week. You have a bunch of exams and you're missing out on watching the Super Bowl or going to a concert with your friends. You're missing out on some big life activities. So however much you value your time while you're studying, while you're in class, while you're watching videos, while you're doing your homework, those things are the implicit costs. Right? The money that you're not earning while working, while doing this, is an implicit cost. What about things that are free? Okay, so we would say that something that is free does not have an explicit cost. You don't have to pay a dollar value for that activity. So for instance, Facebook. At the time of this recording, Facebook is free. You do not have to pay money to have a Facebook account. That means that there is no explicit cost. Right? There's no dollar value associated with your account. There are a lot of implicit costs, though, of using Facebook. For instance, there's a lot of time that you spend watching ads. Whether you're scrolling through, whether it's some sponsored video that, gets your attention and you waste 10 minutes watching it just to find out it's not actually showing what you think it was going to, there's going to be some sort of cost. And even if it is free to the individual, so maybe there's no explicit cost to you, that doesn't mean it's free to society. So let's say you're walking around campus and someone is there giving out free hats. You might not have an explicit cost of taking the hat, but somebody had to pay for it. So the company who is giving you the hat, they had an explicit cost for the hat. Okay, so there's generally nothing free. Something that is truly free is going to have no implicit or explicit costs. It does not require giving up something else to use or it take away from anyone else's use. The best example that I have is gravity. So if I'm using gravity, I'm not giving anything up, and it's not taking away from your ability to use gravity. But basically everything else has a cost. Implicit cost, explicit cost, or potentially both. So here's an example from your book. I'm going to give you a few minutes to work on this. What you're going to want to do now is pause the video and go through each of these things and identify elements of scarcity, choice, and opportunity cost. All right, now that you've had a few minutes to work on this, if not, please rewind and pause. Here are the answers to the try it problems. If you have some extra things and you're wondering if they really do apply here or you got something wrong, please send me a message through Canvas or stop by office hours and we can make sure that we are all on the same page about this. Okay, and that is the end of this video.